Good evening, everyone. Welcome to another episode of Fail Forward Friday.
Fridays. Hello.
How are you doing, Doc?
Good, and you, Malesela?
Good.
Awesome.
Remember, again, Fail Forward Fridays once a week, where we come with our stories. Doc
Two
comes
stories.
with his.
Yep.
I come with my own. We talk about the blunders that these business people did, and compare notes around what are commonalities and what are the lessons learned inside of this.
Yeah. Don't forget to subscribe, to like, and to comment. And if there's any story that you'd like us to cover, please put on the comment section which story you'd like us to research and share.
Yes, please keep them coming.
So 2 stories today. Who's going first?
We're going to spin a coin.
Yep.
Let's spin a coin, Doc.
I'm heads. You are...
How? You're always heads, most
Okay, I'm tails.
Okay.
I'm tails.
Yes.
You are heads.
All right.
Right.
Yes. Hey, Doc, you used to play spinning. Yes!
So
wait, you said your tails.
Yeah, I'm heads. You are tails.
Tails.
It's
Okay.
you.
All right.
Awesome. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome Fail Friday. Malesela, go for it.
All right. So today I'll be speaking about James Dyson and Dyson vacuum. You know Dyson vacuums, Doc. James Dyson is a household name. I mean, for those, it's the luxury. It's like the Rolls Royce of vacuums. If you have a Dyson at home, you know you've made it at home. For some of us, okay, maybe I guess there's those ones called Kirby and whatever. But in any case, so Dyson was started. I mean, he had this idea from the 80s already of coming up with a vacuum that had that uses a cyclone. And what a cyclone is, it just spins. It's a very fast motor that spins and sucks the dirt off the floor. Instead of using the normal way of what people used to do with bags, put a bag in wool. Kind of what's the name of this company? Hoover.
Hoover, yes.
Yes, Hoover was one of the big guys back then. And he decided, obviously, he wants to take on Hoover. And he wants to take on these big corporation vacuum cleaners with bags, because a lot of them made money off their bags. That's why they did not want to get rid of bags.
So how did they make the money off the bags?
So, I mean, the whole point is you buy a Hoover, and the Hoover, obviously, you vacuum cleaning the whole floor.
So the dirt
gets
in.
the dirt gets into the bag. The bag gets full. You have to throw it away and put in a new
bag. Oh.
And
So it's like a refuse
money.
bag.
It's like literally a refuse bag.
Oh.
And they made money out of that. He then obviously disrupted that industry.
So the model is, it sounds like, I mean, like with the digital camera as well.
Yes.
So you buy the film, and then you
Yes,
take pictures,
exactly.
and then you develop, and then you throw it away, you buy another film.
Exactly.
Oh,
exactly. So he came up with one of the first bagless vacuums, and soon as he did that, he disrupted. It was a long journey from when he started it to when he finished it, because there was a lot of trials that he went through, and a lot of he used to sell licensing for it, and it was just a long story.
So he owned the IP.
He owned the IP. Eventually, he had sold a certain part of the not licensing with other people, and he didn't have a lot of say in it. Eventually, brought it in house. They then obviously bought everything in house, started building everything locally, and eventually expanded from there. So it's a successful company. Like Dyson, I mean, they've done a lot of things. They started. In fact, I would go to the extent that to say Dyson is not necessarily, I mean, it's a consumer product company, but it's actually an engineering company more than anything, because they spend so much money on R&D. Now, they've done quite a lot of things, and when I say a lot of things, I mean they've done hair dryers. I'm actually still currently reading the book on it.
What's the name of the book?
It's called Innovation by James Dyson.
What a boring name, but anyway. Surely you can cover.
It actually is quite boring name, funny enough, and it's there's nothing that calls you. But inside,
the story is amazing.
In fact, I realize why it's called that, because he actually has 2 books, right? The first one is called at all cost. What? The cost of something. Forgot the name, but in any case. But the second one is called Innovate, and it's also by James Dyson. But I realized why they call it Innovate, because he only talks about his innovation. He doesn't talk about the trial that he had with this company in America for almost 6 years, 7 years. He just goes through it to say, we did this, we went through the trial, we went through. But in that other book, he talks about the actual what was happening on the ground, you know. But this one, it's literally about innovate. But they've done a lot of things. They've done obviously vacuum cleaners. They've done hair dryers. In fact, they even invented a way for, you know, these when you go into the bathrooms, they said, "Ooh, what do hand dryers?" Yes. They invented one where it doesn't use heat, but it removes. I don't know, in some other way, but it removes the water without evaporating the water, because usually the old ones use that. But I mean, these guys are so intelligent in what they're doing. They really, really are. In fact, one of the cool things that I was reading was that when they created the hairdryer, the Dyson hairdryer, they took some of their engineers to go study for a year about hair, just so that they could actually understand hair and how hair fragments work, how hair works, and all of these things. So it was actually quite interesting. They go into a lot of they put thought into everything that they're inventing or they're reinventing in a way, and I like that about them. But they then obviously over time they've had before I get there, they actually went into the, I want to say, battery business, and you'll realize why I say this. They went into the battery business when they did the vacuum, they portable vacuum, and then from there went into the hair straighteners, and all of those things were battery powered to the extent, even the robot cleaning thing, vacuum. And I think they then decided, listen guys, let's go into doing the electric vehicle. Now, he decided in 2017, which is very late, because by 2017, everyone and anyone that was doing, that were car manufacturers, wanted to at least go into the vacuum. Obviously, the Paris talks especially happened, I think 2012, was it 2014, round about there. Yeah. And he decided only in 2017, okay, we want to create our own car. Yeah. They go into creating their own car. Obviously, they had that battery side of things already, but I don't think he realized how tough it was going to be. And I think a lot of people don't realize how tough the motor industry is, because I saw it with Apple now. I think maybe one day we'll talk about Apple and how they failed with their car, that they tried the Apple car. And to say the least, they went into it, first of all, very late. But in any case, they invested about $2 billion. They said, okay, we're setting about $2 billion and we're going to start this thing. They started now, hired people from all over the world. The engineering guys did the engineering thing, like R&D, as they always do. And they got to a stage where I think it was 2019. Luckily for them, they realized quickly. I think that's the only takeaway from here. But they obviously put so much money into it, and things didn't work out. Now, the battery technology that they wanted is not, batteries in cars and batteries in consumables, in like your hairdryer, is not the same. It's significantly bigger.
Lithium batteries.
They are lithium batteries.
Yeah.
Yes, lithium, you can always create lithium batteries, the smaller lithium batteries. They were in that industry already. But it's the size and the way they did it. Even Tesla used to, eventually they developed their own now, but they used Panasonic before. Panasonic has always been in the battery business. They know batteries like that. And now, obviously, these guys now try to come in here, battery technology. That was a bit of a mishit in a way. Second of all, they obviously came in late. This is late. 2017, like I said earlier on. Already 2017, Tesla had the Model 3, if I'm not mistaken, out. Model S had already been out. The Rivians of the world were mushrooming as well. The legacy guys were also coming up. Your Ford, your Volkswagen, your BMW, Mercedes, all of these guys were already thinking electrical at the time. Now you coming, you have nothing to do with that industry. Nothing. It's not like you at least know about cars. You know nothing about that industry. And then they then came in and tried to do this thing. Look, I'll give them a hand to say at least they tried, But in fact, not even at least they tried. They tried, but at least they came out earlier before everything went into flames. Because I think 2019, like I said, they realized, okay, this thing really isn't working. The technology of the batteries is not working. The manufacturing part is even harder than we thought it would be. It's actually not going to be viable to bring this to the market because of how expensive it is. They'd almost have to have it that people buy. They actually buy from get-go this car sold out if it's going to be viable. At the moment, it's not viable, and they put in a lot of their own money. In fact, James Dyson put in about 500 million. In fact, let me put it this way. In 2019, when they stopped, he had already been 500 million in, him alone, of his personal wealth. I can't even imagine how much more they lost outside of him, because he wouldn't have obviously taken on all that debt. They probably would have financed it somewhere. So that's one thing, I guess, that they shot themselves in the foot a lot, a big time. Luckily for them, they then went into their own lane and did what they still do, and even till today, they are still Dyson as we know them. So recently they came out with these Mara Dyson actually. Now that they think so, they in 2020, and hey Mara, what can we say? It's just, I guess if you can rather, your tax will pay for it anyway with the R&D. So I remember they brought out this headset. They brought, I don't know if you've seen it, Doc, but they brought out this headset that had an air filter during COVID.
Oh my word. Okay.
A whole air filter. It came out, it's exactly almost like what we're wearing here, but it just has like this mechanism that comes on here. Almost like, I don't know if you've watched Batman with Bane. With Bane, that whole thing that Bane has in that sense, right? Almost something like that, but it just has this thing, and it's supposed to be an air filter. Apparently it works. I don't know. But to say the least, it was a flop as well. But now they've actually gone into headsets now. He says they are an electronic company more than anything else. So it's quite interesting, that story. But one thing for sure is timing, underestimating engineering on that, and just not having the actual skill, even though you thought you do, because you think every problem is the same.
It's quite interesting. I mean, there's a whole, when you talk about timing and innovation, so there's a whole thing about timing, right, of innovation, right? So there's I can't remember, it's Bill Graham or something. He gives an amazing TED talk about why businesses fail, and part of it is the wrong timing.
Yes.
But there's also another perspective that says, because often we talk about first mover advantage, right?
Yes,
you needed to be out of the blocks with everybody else, right? As they were getting off the blocks, you also want to be part. It's like a marathon. You also want to be part of the first group that departs.
Yes.
That you are not left way behind.
You're not a laggard.
Yeah, you're not a laggard. So it sounds to me like Dyson he came way behind the block, right? But what also is interesting is that, in fact, you don't have to be the first mover.
Yes.
Right?
Apple proved it.
Apple proved it. A couple of companies have proved. For instance, Google. Google was not the first search engine company. Yahoo was. Yes. Right?
And even before Yahoo, there
was some
Netscape. And
Netscape, yes. And then there was also, your social media, for instance. Facebook was not the first a social media network. There were others that came before Facebook, right? WhatsApp. In fact, my story is, WhatsApp was not the first. There were others before WhatsApp, right? which will be a segue into my talk. But WhatsApp was not the first. So there's a whole thing that sometimes being the second, or sometimes even the third, right? You are able to sort of see what the first two guys who took off, what mistakes they made.
Yes.
And you're able to not repeat those mistakes.
Yes. You learn on other person's account.
Yes. Right. So you let them fail forward and you come in. It's like, So you watch Fail Forward Friday. It's like, okay. And I don't have to make those mistakes.
Yeah.
But I mean, it sounds like, Dyson was way behind, way behind.
It actually reminds me of what we were talking about with Nokia.
Yeah.
And how they came into the touch screen, even though they had been the first people to kind of like come with it, and then they left it alone.
Yeah.
And then they came in late afterwards and tried to do it themselves, even though people had already gone onto the Android and onto the iOS platforms. And then they came in there alone, being lonely, Mr. Lonely, and they tried to do it in and after.
Yeah.
It's a bad idea.
The other thing as well is the whole difference between being able to innovate,
yes,
and being able to commercialize,
yes,
right?
Yes, it's two different.
Because innovation for its own sake, and I think that's what made Jobs different. Because Jobs didn't just conceptualize all these amazing things; he was also an amazing salesperson.
Yeah,
right.
Yeah,
his storytelling abilities, the ability to tell a story. And the ability to sell the story, got people sleeping on the pavements before the Apple store was opened. So because people wanted to buy.
They got us buying iPhones, even though iPhone is not changing.
Well, yeah, okay, but that ability to tell a story,
yes.
And it sounds to me like Dyson also struggled with that ability. I mean, look at for instance, look at SpaceX, Boring Company.
Yes, the story they tell.
All the Elon Musk's businesses.
Yes.
Right? There isn't advertising.
Yes.
There isn't advertising, right?
Yes.
And the products are selling.
Yes.
Why? Because Elon Musk is a storyteller.
Yeah.
Right?
True.
He's a storyteller. And people, that's why he's so constantly out there on Twitter, tweeting. Even though sometimes I don't understand what he's tweeting about, and there'll be thousands and thousands of retweets. But I'm like, what is this guy saying? Like, it's as if people just follow the guy, and I'm like, but what is he saying? This thing doesn't make sense, right?
Yes.
But I think it's a strategy where he's making sure that he's always, because it's as if Musk is deliberate. Like, hey, I haven't made any news. I want to make news, and let me say something.
They say all news is good news when it comes to marketing.
Yeah, and he just tweet something just because it makes him relevant.
Yes.
It makes him right.
Yes.
And I think that's his strategy, to sort of be always in the news.
Yes.
So that his companies are also
trending.
But are also trending. And for me, it never used to make sense. Why is this guy always quoting trouble? And so it's sort of like his marketing strategy.
Yeah.
Right? Even though sometimes it sounds like he might rub some people off the wrong way.
Yeah.
And people might boycott some of his products as
look
well.
at with Twitter.
Yes, with Twitter as well. So yeah, it's quite interesting. Innovation for its own sake is not going. It's going nowhere. You need to be able to take it.
True.
To market.
But at the same time, you should also be able to know. You should also be able to know that what you're actually selling would actually work.
Yeah. Yeah.
Because at the end of the day, it starts with innovation, but it doesn't end with innovation.
Yes. So it's a whole thing of Roger Dyson has failed very slowly. Like
he did.
Like that's an expensive fix.
I mean, dog, 500 billion. Look, he's still a billionaire.
So. No, for sure. I mean, you sort of like you have this runway.
Yes.
Right. It's like a plane taking off. So you have this runway. And the goal is you need to be able to take off before the end of the runway, right?
True.
And some people then say, this is where my runway ends.
Yes.
If by the end of this runway, the plane is not off the ground, I'm out.
Yes.
Right? And maybe that's his runway, to say, I'm going to spend X amount, and if I get there and nothing has gotten off the blocks, I'm out.
Yes.
Maybe. I don't know. But it sounds for me that was a very slow failure?
I guess the question then becomes, dog, how fast do you fail, especially in a technology like that? Because I can imagine for a vacuum is clean, or earphones, it's fine. We failed, guys, after 6 months. You know, Apple, iPhone, we failed after whatever, it's done, let's go. A vehicle is not that simple because you have to take it out for testing.
Yeah.
You have to take it out for this. You have to actually check how long it takes with the batteries, how the electronics work. That is quite a long time.
Yeah.
You know, funny enough, and I like I said, I commend them for after 2 years realizing. Because some of these guys, they take a long time. Apple, actually, the rumors were there for since before COVID, the rumors were there that they were starting, they wanted to do a car. And they only stopped that department last year.
Do you think if Jobs was still alive?
One of the questions I actually had for myself was that. To say, I wonder if Steve Jobs was here, would they even have one? Yeah. Would he realize that, okay, I want a car? Yeah. First of all. And if yes, what type of I don't know, because there's consumables, dog. That's one thing. Yeah. There is consumables, but then car industry is totally different.
Yeah,
it's not a computer.
But not true. But Jobs is a great storyteller.
He is. He is.
So in fact, there was a whole thing that was done comparing Jobs and Musk.
Yeah.
Of course, the jury's still out as to who's the greatest entrepreneur.
Yes.
Right?
I
think Elon, because of the type of projects he's doing.
Yes.
In terms of sustainability.
And right? Across the board.
Yes. So, but Jobs is a great storyteller.
Yes.
So there's a whole thing. Yeah, he's the greatest storyteller. So there's a whole thing that says, if Apple was to make a car, right, you are guaranteed a lot of people will
go, yes,
will buy it.
Because very well follow us.
But if Tesla was to make phones, a lot of people wouldn't buy it.
They wouldn't. That's true. And I 100% agree with you there.
Right.
I 100%. Yeah. Well, so, I mean, we did that book on Elon. You remember that perfume?
Yeah.
Just to show, a perfume that smelled like burnt hair.
Yeah.
That goes out of what? It got sold out in 10 minutes.
Yes.
Like 200,000 of them. Again, you know.
Yeah, but I wouldn't buy a Tesla or
phone.
No. I don't trust those. No, I don't trust those guys.
Let's hear your story, dog.
All right. So my laptop has decided to. Okay. Anyway, Apple. I will use my phone. So my story is on a South African story. I've never used this technology. But I know it used to be a big technology.
Yes.
Way back, my cousin used to ask me, but Roche, why are you not on MXit? Like, what? Yeah. MXit, right? Yeah. I'm like, no, man. MXit. What's MXit, right? Yeah. And apparently it was a big thing, that thing.
It was huge.
Everyone
in this studio has a MXit name. Romeo 28. Casanova 444.
I don't even know how that thing works.
Yeah, dog, that thing.
I mean, like,
it made us grow up.
I've never used it, right?
We are who we
so
are.
He would be like, no, cannot mix it. We'll talk. I'm like, no, man, mix it. No. So, I mean, apparently it was very popular. And it was funded by a guy called Stephen Ellis, 2003. Right?
Wait, it's a South African company?
Yeah, it's a South African company. I didn't even know that. It's a South African company. It's a South African innovation. Okay. It started in 2003 by a guy called Stephen Ellis. Then just 19-year-old then.
Are you serious?
Yep. Launched in 2003, October. It grew by word of mouth, right? But I think there's a term for it. There's a technology term for it. I forgot what it says, but it sort of says, if I have a Facebook account and I want to communicate with you, and you're not on Facebook, it doesn't help me just being alone on Facebook. So you need to also hop on
Yes.
so that we are able to communicate.
Yes.
Right. So I think that's what MXit was. Because my cousin my nephew used, no, get on MXit, get on MXit. I'm like, no, I'm not going there, right? And I think that's how MXit got to grow, you know. But it always for me, it always felt like this underground black market type of a thing. Because I never saw an advert, nothing, right?
Yeah.
So
And then plus, that time there wasn't social media.
no. There wasn't. This was even before WhatsApp.
Yes.
Right?
Before Facebook.
Before
even.
Facebook, before WhatsApp, right? And I think its selling point at the time, it was because it was cheaper. Right, it was more affordable. I mean, like I said, I don't know how it worked, but it was more
I
affordable.
don't think how it actually because it wasn't a data. Was it a data thing?
Yeah,
You bought airtime, and it was part of your airtime had the data that you would chat with.
yeah,
Yes.
yeah. So and I mean, can you believe it had about 50 million?
Are you serious?
Yeah. It had about 50 million. I don't know whether it's subscribers, but about 10 million monthly active subscribers who were using
I
it.
was part of
It was so it was it was mostly in South Africa, apparently in some parts of the continent in
Yes.
Africa and India.
Ah.
And India as well, right? You know, but because it's a piece of technology and like any other technology,
It didn't have.
it didn't innovate or adapt because
Yes.
because what I used to ask myself is how do they make money, right?
I was about to say.
You know, how do
it
they
was
make
just the
money? I think
technology.
it took them a while to monetize,
Yes.
to start monetizing. And by the time they then got to monetize, then that's when your WhatsApp came in,
Yes.
social media platform,
Yes.
Facebook came in. Because when Facebook came in, it was you know aggressively marketed, and it was also something that it came at the age of smartphones as
Yes.
well.
Yes.
And it was like a trend that just
Yes.
wave that took over, and that you know killed the MXit generation as well.
I'm trying to think as well because I wonder how and this is me, my technology brain asking myself because again, knowing what we know from Nokia back in the days, right? They obviously developed the software for the OS, the Nokia OS, and they made it for whoever it is, the other OSs, Samsung here and there. But all of those OSs were old OS. And when Facebook came in, iOS was coming in, and Android was coming in. And I mean, obviously, you're in the US. I'm guessing at the time, the US, it was easier to get to these other phone companies or these OS companies and develop for those OSs. Now, and OS obviously being operation system. Now, I'm thinking to myself, did these guys get left behind because of where they were in the world?
Yes, there's geography plays a huge role.
Yes.
And I think we underestimate geography. South Africa is at the bottom of the hemisphere, at way at the bottom.
People don't even know.
Right, and if you study the theory of innovation, you'll know that innovation largely. In fact, there's a book, a Geography of Genius. It's quite an amazing book. You must get it. So the guy talks about where are you likely to find the majority of the geniuses in the world.
Yes.
Right, and you are likely to find the majority of the geniuses in the world in certain areas, right? Silicon Valley, for instance, right? Because Silicon Valley is an environment that nurtures innovators. It's like what China did with the industrial zones, with the zones,
yes,
right?
yes.
Special economic zones.
Yes.
We are doing it here with the Port Elizabeth being the car manufacturing zone,
yes.
Roslyn, right?
Yes.
So the same theory holds with tech innovation, right? That there are specific areas, towns, or in the world where if you want to be the best, you need to be in those areas.
Yes.
And that's what motivated Elon Musk to leave, to go to Canada, and then go to the US, because he understood that you want to be the best in an area that is able to take the best out of you, right? So you can be the best of the best. You can be the best of the best. But if you are based in Joburg, right?
It's so late.
You're going to struggle to compete with guys who are based in Silicon Valley.
That's true.
Right? You can be the best soccer player here. But if you're not playing in Europe, right? You're not gonna be the best.
That's true, actually.
Globally. So the best brains, the best soccer players, they'll go to Europe.
So if Messi did not go to Europe,
No.
we wouldn't
No,
actually know who Messi is.
We wouldn't know him. So he had to be in one of the two best leagues,
Yes.
either the Premier League or the Spanish La
Spanish
Liga.
league, yeah.
And I think the Spanish La Liga, But, well, it's... well, yeah, okay. In Europe,
I'm
let's say
joking,
Europe.
yes.
So he needed to be where the best players are playing. So innovation is the same. You want to be the best innovator, top of the art, state of the art equipment, thinking, trends. You needed to
And
be.
the thing is, the trends were there. Now, I can already imagine that social media wasn't as social media was back then.
Yeah.
So he wouldn't even have known that there's this thing called iOS that developers can actually develop for.
Yeah, because where it gets conceptualized, he's not there.
Yes.
Right, he's based here.
He's not in the
SA.
rooms
He's
where-
not where the negotiations, the discussions.
Yes.
When somebody says, I'm tinkering with this thing, pitching at some platform in Silicon Valley, he's in South Africa. He's
Yes.
far away, right? So that geography is important.
Yes.
And I think we underplay it, but it's important. You look at what you're doing. You look at where are the best people located
Yes.
based on what you're doing,
Yes.
right? And you want to always link yourself
Yes.
to that space, whether it's Silicon. If you're in technology or innovation, for instance,
Yeah.
you have to link up to Silicon Valley. You need to know
Funny enough,
what's happening there.
there's some guys that we sit next to in our offices, and the CEO decided they want to go to America because they're a tech startup, and bought a one-way ticket to the US for that very thing.
Yeah.
It's all nice and well and cool. We can do it here in South Africa, but South African market is too small to grow into the size of what you think this thing will be, and for it to be.
But the best brains are not coming here.
Exactly.
Globally, the best brains are going to Silicon Valley when it comes to tech.
Yeah, dog. Yeah, I get that, right? I used to work for this company that was started in South Africa, right? And actually, that company was probably one of the best at what they did in the world, if not the best, right? The only thing I would say what helped them is that they got bought by a company that is actually global. And that was actually a way into the global market, because now you have this big guy on your big
brother.
corporate, big brother, that is saying, hey, come see my boy. He actually is amazing. Oh, come see this. And it's amazing. And Vela, this person is really good. So what I'm trying to say, especially this day and age, things are quite open. I would go to the extent of maybe saying that if MXit had 50 million and it was now, I think it would probably be in a place where they can either be bought. I mean, look at what happened with WhatsApp. Chances are they probably would have bought. I mean, WhatsApp wasn't even that big when they started. I mean, WhatsApp was started in, where was it? Not Romania, where was it? But in one of the Scandinavians, if I'm not mistaken. And is it Estonia? I think it was Estonia. But in any case. But it was started in one of these countries, and yet they were able to come out, you know? But I think the guy as well was actually studying in America, which actually defeats my what I'm trying to say.
Yes.
Okay, well,
Yeah. So, I mean, look at rugby, right? You want the best rugby players, or you want to develop to be the best rugby. You come here.
100%.
We cook them special here.
Yeah,
right?
We feed them cook
Right? So you can be,
That's
know,
true, actually.
you want geography is important, but I think if you can't monetarily afford to go to the US, you need to make sure that you subscribe or you follow YouTube or whatever what Y Combinator entrepreneurs are doing, for instance. You always want to be follow these key figures that are on social media, Twitter, whatever, so that you are able to get a sense of where the wind is blowing.
Yes.
And I think because during the time of MXit, probably social media was not as, YouTube was not as,
globalization
was not a thing like it is now. So it was very easy for them to, I mean, if you look at their stats, peak time, they had 3 million registered users, 1 million monthly active users, right? Started in 2003, 2006 reached 1 million registered users. 2014 shut down. Right?
Kodak.
Yeah, Kodak moment. So precisely because they could not adapt.
I actually wonder how did they monetize?
I don't know. In fact, that's one of the things why they shut down. They managed to get investors to come in and invest. Maybe they did Series A, B, but they could not sustain their investment because they were struggling to monetize.
Leaking.
Yeah.
There's a bucket that's leaking.
Remember when this social media thing started? How to monetize this was not really quite clear.
Yeah, in fact, how Facebook I know did it is they hired the person that was head of Google in advertising.
Yeah. Yes.
And
so
she came in and who was the COO and brought the business model.
Yes, because at the time when social media started, we were not so sure how we're going to make money from this. There was a whole subscription model, what Elon wants to do with Twitter to say you're going to. And then there was the whole advertising space where people come and advertise and they pay. And there was a whole, do the users pay for this?
Actually, going back to the Elon wants to make us pay. Actually, I say us, but I'm not on Twitter. I actually think of how I see now what's his name? What Meta is doing now with having threads.
Yes.
And threads is just basically another Twitter.
Yeah.
And how people are actually going onto it, eh?
I haven't been there, but I see people, there's movement.
Yeah, I've never also been there. I don't even know how it looks.
Yeah.
I just saw now you go on Instagram, every second thing is, here's a thread, do my thread link. Yeah. So they are, Elon must actually think of a different way. Maybe go ask for love bags from the advertisers because it's asking people to pay even though we haven't, in fact, people that have never paid, asking them to pay, I don't think that's viable. I can already tell you now.
Yeah. So WhatsApp was started in Mountain View, California.
Yes.
By a guy who was born in Ukraine.
Yes.
And moved to the US at the age of 16.
Yes.
And grew up in San Jose, California. John Coombe and Brian Etten as well.
So
Brian Etten was born
in
in the US, grew up in Florida. And that's the thing.
They were in
Tech
the hub.
Innovation, you have to be where the best brains are.
So you're telling me, and I'm not going to leave South Africa?
Well, maybe not leave, but make sure that
there's an office there. Or you operating some kind of way.
Or you have a type of a collaboration, partnership, or network with someone there.
I get you.
Right? Those collaborations can actually,
because so you basically saying the issue is not the technology.
No.
The issue is the influence.
It's the influence. Yes. You want to be. So one of the things, if you go deeper into the theory of innovation, says how you are able to come up with, and the reason why the US is, and the reason why China will not be as innovative as the US is because the US is a cosmopolitan society. So you have a guy who comes from Ukraine, right? And goes to the US.
Yes.
It's Einstein comes from
Germany. Yes,
right?
goes to the US.
Goes to the US. In fact, Jeff Bezos' parents.
Yes, still come. Yeah, migrants. Yes.
Go to the US.
Steve
Jobs, for instance. So you have, and that's what makes America to be innovative, because you have a cosmopolitan of people coming from all different walks of life.
So it's all perspectives.
Yeah, all perspectives come in, right? Your WeWork guy from Israel, for instance, they go there, and it's a mixture, it's a concoction. Yeah, of course, it will also attract some
the wrong ones. Yeah, but I guess I get what you mean.
But it's at the intersection of different cultures, personalities, industries. At that intersection, that's where you get innovation. China will not be innovative because China is a homogeneous society.
Yes, it's only about them.
It's a homogeneous society, same language. They're not open. It's a closed economy. They're not open.
Same way of thinking.
Same way of thinking.
Yes.
They're not open to and influenced by other cultures.
That's why they will always go out and steal.
Yeah. They'll always be the number two. They'll always be chasing the US.
Yeah.
And what makes the US is the fact that they're open, and as a result they're able to incentivize and attract the best brains anywhere in the world. The best brains are not going to China.
True.
Right?
That's true.
They're not going to China. They're going.
That's true.
They all want to go to the US, but of course also because of
But I guess that's why China used to send people to America.
Yes, that's
to
what
be
they
the innovation to come back.
Yeah, and there's a story. There's a story of a guy who came to South Africa.
Yeah.
Right. So there was a whole deal that was made. I can't remember if it was construction or something. So there was a whole deal that was made, and China insisted, one of the Chinese companies insisted that they want this guy to be in the management team.
Yes.
Right? And be part of the management team, right? Attend meetings or whatever, right? So they have meetings. So these two other guys, white guys, so they were telling me the story. So every week we have a meeting. The China guy is in the meeting.
Yeah.
He says nothing, this guy, right? Nothing. Every meeting, he says nothing. He's just quiet. He has his notebook. He says nothing. For almost a whole year.
Yeah.
The guy says nothing. They even think this guy is not bright.
Smooth.
It's like it's not bright, this one.
Yes.
What they don't know is that this guy is writing notes. But at the end, the wealth of knowledge that this guy had, he went back to implement.
In China.
Yeah. Right? And they were thinking this guy is probably not the brightest. So what the Chinese are able to do is to do that. They are able to send their kids to go study in China and then learn and then come in the US, and come back and implement. Because they understand that, you need to once in a while find that's where you are able to find innovation. You're not going to find innovation when you're a closed economy and you send people out, they come back, send people out. You're not going to do that. You're going to you need to open yourself up.
I think of what Jack Ma did. He just saw Amazon. He's like, I want that. And
Yes,
he did it.
yes. Yeah, exactly. So you want to open yourself and be deliberate by
about what you
saying,
want to do.
I want diversity.
Yes.
Right, which is very difficult because we always want to surround ourselves with like-minded people.
Yeah.
But you want to be deliberate to say, no. I want to meet different people with the deliberate intention of knowing how they think,
Yes.
how they approach problem solving.
Yes.
And that's where you become. A lot of South Africans who are, we think they're innovative. All they did is they went to overseas. They went to another country, and they see the guy who started DSTV.
Yes,
went to the US, saw cable TV,
and then he came back.
And came back and says,
Let's
boom,
implement. Yeah.
let's implement. Right? For us, like, this is innovative. No.
Then they charge us 2,000
Yeah,
rand.
and then they do repeats of the repeat.
Omnibus.
But that's where innovation comes from.
Yes.
When you step out of your comfort zone.
Yo, Doc, that's
And
actually,
expose
you're
yourself to
actually
other-
hitting something that's so true. And I know we're speaking about MXit and we'll finish now, but I think of how even now, there's not a lot of innovation in and around. Even South Africa, yes, it does, but there isn't enough of that innovation. The reason I'm saying that is how I see the fact that what's his name? The fact that Netflix was able to come and disrupt DSTV in a way, and all of these guys were able to come disrupt DSTV, and how DSTV had to pivot and Showmax obviously helped them in that sense. And they didn't innovate. They just went and took something that already existed and created Showmax.
Yeah. But you can imagine if they were proactive.
Yes.
Yes. Again, making sure that you collaborate, you know what's happening in the US, you're able to see the trends, you're able to see where the wind is blowing, and you come back and you implement. You start Showmax before there's Netflix.
Yeah.
For instance, right? You can imagine where they would be. Right, and I think that's what I don't know, in one of the episodes, like the whole comfort zone.
Yes, the comfort zone thing.
Comfort
yes.
zone that we have monopolized to the market, and therefore we don't need the reason to change.
Yes.
This is a winning formula. But in innovation, you need to change the winning formula.
Yes.
If you don't, someone is going to change it for you.
Step outside of your comfort
zone. Step outside of your comfort zone. So I always say to entrepreneurs, imagine how your industry is going to look like in the next 5 to 10 years. And constantly, imagine how it's going to look like in the next 5-10 years, and then start going there. Right? Start going there. I can't remember who said this. He says, always err on the side of how your industry of change. Always err on the side of change. Right? Don't wait for change to. If you're going to make a mistake trying to change.
Yes.
Right? Don't make the mistake of thinking you don't need to change.
Yes.
Rather make a mistake or fail trying to change.
Yes.
Right? So the future always wins all the time.
Yes.
All the time.
And change is the only inevitable thing.
Right? So MXit, adapt or die. They struggled. Firstly, they struggled to monetize. But I think also, to your point, they were just too far from where the action is really happening.
Yes.
And yeah, they
And
lost.
Shem, he innovated. Shem.
Yeah, they lost 50 million
Yeah.
users.
Dog, that's
50 million.
R1 each
Yeah,
every month.
yeah. Go on.
Anyway,
That's the pod.
that is the pod. Thank you everyone for listening, and see you next time. From me, Malesela and Roche.
Roche Mabolo.
Like, subscribe, and comment.
Yes, please.
Thank you
comment.
for those that have been watching.
Yeah.
We've been seeing the thousands of you.
Yes,
I think
from episode 1,
from episode 1 we hit 20,000,
20,000.
21,000,
Yes, and going strong.
and going strong.
And I think the second episode, we are at 11,000.
Yeah. So thank you everyone.
Yes.
Comment
Yes,
comment
please.
on the what you'd want us to speak about, and we will make it happen.
Yep.
Thank you and goodbye.
Awesome.